So good afternoon, everyone. Happy whatever day today is. No, I'm kidding. Today's 4/20. Everyone knows what day today is. And I'm Audrey Russo. I'm thrilled to be here. So excited to have the City of Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, who I will introduce in one moment. I'm very excited to have him on the show and to talk about all the things that he has been up to. Before we get started, I just want to give deep appreciation to Huntington Bank for the work that they've done with us for over a year and just been amazing civic stewards and ambassadors for all the work across the tech ecosystem and small businesses. 40 by 80, the Tech Council's wholly owned 501c3, where we're focused on apprenticeships and entrepreneurship, and AT&T are longtime partners and friends and everything we do in terms of public policy and those elected officials in terms of how it affects the ecosystem around southwestern Pennsylvania and across the nation. So we've muted your microphones and we have an opportunity for chat in here, but we are going to jump right in. I am thrilled to have Mr. Mayor Francis Suarez. I am a long fan of yours. You might not know that, but I have been following you on Twitter, writing to you, and just cheering you on from everything from your political acumen to your civility to your humbleness and just the stories of all that you've done. I can't be a bigger fan other than I don't think I'm moving to Miami, but you know, you never know because people in Pittsburgh have deep love for Florida and for Miami. We probably have more direct flights from Pittsburgh to Miami than anywhere else, anywhere in Florida than anywhere else in the United States. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to welcome you. We're excited to just have a chance to connect with you. The work that you are doing in terms of attracting tech companies, we are envious. We are competitive. And we want to make sure that we understand where you are coming from. So if you could set the stage for us, that would be just amazing.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's a huge honor to be invited to speak with all of you. You should be not so much envious, but you should be competitive about the environment that we're in, because we do live in a competitive world and a competitive environment. And so it is appropriate for you to feel that this is a moment of some level of competition. It's also an opportunity, really, for all cities. And I'll begin with giving you a Mayor Peduto quote, because as the mayor of the city of Miami and as a mayor who looks to be reelected in November, and hopefully that will go smoothly, president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors in January, I look to my fellow mayors, whether they're Republican or Democrat, and we feel like we are sort of a support group for each other and kind of a family. Mm-hmm. And so I remember at one point being on a call or on a Zoom with Bill, Mayor Peduto, and he said to me, you know, Mr. Mayor, in America, there's three parties. And I said, really, what are they? He goes, there's Republicans, there's Democrats, and there's mayors. And he's right. He's right. There are three parties in America. And I think mayors are different because we often do not look at public policy through a partisan lens. We look at public policy through a problems, solutions lens. And oftentimes I feel that our country would be much better off if we could sort of put those things that divide us in a drawer and have what somebody said to me this week. Actually, it was a mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, who was a former president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Radical pragmatism. If we were radically pragmatist, about how do we solve problems and get things done, I think we'd be much better off. But this conversation in particular is about tech. And the question of why I've done what I've done, you have to sort of rewind and go back to when I got elected. I first got elected in 2009. I was 32 years old and I got elected to the city council. I realized then, the same thing I realize now, that our world is being dominated by these things. Our world is dominated by the fact that, look at what we're doing just this second. I'm here in this beautiful, amazing city with these palm trees flowing behind me, and you guys are in Pittsburgh. I mean, you guys are watching this, from a variety of different geographical and physical locations. So that is only possible. That level of efficiency is only possible with technology. And it became very apparent to me as the first generation that was born with cell phones and the first generation that was born with PCs, that technology is going to continue to dominate our life, not just our economy, our life, everything that we do. And so mayors and cities, all of you have two choices, and that's all you have. You have two choices. Choice number one is you embrace the inevitable future. Choice number two is you don't, and you suffer the consequences. That's it. This is not about whether we like tech, whether we don't like tech. This is not about whether, tech censors people or doesn't censor people, or any sort of political or Republican or Democratic view on technology. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do exclusively and entirely about the reality of the dominance of tech in our life. And it's going to get more involved. We're going to have artificial intelligence computers that monitor our sleep. I already monitor my sleep, but when you get up in the morning, it's going to tell you what kind of a workout you can do, how much you can exert yourself. It's going to tell you what your body needs based on what you ate last night. It's going to tell, and it's going to optimize it for you. It's going to survey, what you have in your pantry and tell you what you need to order. I'll probably order it for you if you allow it to. And the same with some of the products that you use. I mean, I don't even go to CVS or Walgreens anymore because I order everything online, everything that I use. So, for us, it's an inevitability that we need to embrace. And I've chosen to embrace it. What for me is a little bit strange, if you will, is why haven't other mayors, or why don't other public officials do it? Why haven't they done it? I think part of it is generational. And I don't mean to sound disrespectful in any way, shape, or form of the prior generation. I succeeded a mayor that is in his 70s. My father's 72. My father was the first Cuban mayor of Miami. We're the first father and son. He did a magnificent job in positioning Miami to allow me to take the reins of leadership and build on it. So his generation accomplished a tremendous amount for our city. But every generation has its moment where it comes to a time where you turn the page, and it will come for me as well, right? And now is the moment where you have to invest in leaders that have the ability to see 10, 15, 20, 30 years into the future and plan and help cities build around that. So for us, obviously, we focus on creating the kind of economy where every single citizen in our city can thrive. And for us to do that, it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's something that can be done without having to make some tough choices. But for us, we focus on three fundamental truths, and we build off that, right? So fundamental truth number one, we believe that we should not tax you or tax anyone $1 more than what is absolutely necessary. So as mayor, I reduced our millage rate, which is our only tax. We have no state income tax. We have no city income tax. We have a millage rate, which is the tax that you apply on the value of your home. That's your property tax. We lowered it to the second lowest level since the 1960s. And what happened when we did that? What happened was we got more investment. More people came to the city. Our budget actually grew significantly after that happened. So it's sort of counter narrative and counterintuitive. You think, well, you lower taxes, you're going to get less revenue. And what you actually see happening is the cities that continue to raise taxes are the ones that have the biggest budget deficits, and they have to continue to raise taxes to fill those budget deficits. So it ends up becoming a vicious cycle where you're growing government to the size and to the level where it reduces the marginal productivity or the marginal desire to be productive in a city. And people decide, we're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go live in a place that has more palm trees, that has better weather, and that takes less of my money. So people can vote with their feet. The second thing that we decided to do is, while many cities were talking about defunding their police, we actually increased funding in our police. We actually grew our police force to the largest that it's ever been. And as a result of that, we saw a 25% reduction in crime from last year. And we had the year before that, the lowest homicide rate since 1954. I mean, it's 2020, it's almost 70 years. And that is not adjusted for population growth. So that's an aggregate number. We had I believe it was, I want to say it was 42 homicides in a, in a city of our size, which was the lowest level we've had since the 1950s. So, we focused on creating the safest big city in America. And then the third thing that we did was focus on quality of life. There is no one in the world, I don't know, it's not my phone. Oh, it is my phone. I think it is my phone. Oh, it's somebody. All right, here we go. There's nobody in the world that has been able to figure out how to live yesterday again. If anybody has, please let me know, because I don't think even Elon Musk has figured that out yet. And since you can't live yesterday again, that means that where you live today and where you live tomorrow are the most important decisions that you make in your life, right? Time is the only finite commodity you have. You can make more money, you can do a lot of things, but you cannot expand the amount of time that you have without sort of, obviously being healthy and all that. But so for us, we have focused on creating a premier city. We just got Formula One. So we focused on having, and which is, by the way, we're only the second city in America that has Formula One. We have all the sports offerings. We're in the process of finishing an MLS deal to bring an MLS team to Miami. So we'll have all of the major franchises plus Formula One. I don't think there's any city in the world that has that. Certainly Austin, which is the other Formula One city, does not have all the other sports franchises. We're focusing on having cultural facilities. We have a museum of science, arts museum. We have probably the best art festival in the world in Art Basel. Right. One of the most amazing private gallery collections of art anywhere in the world as well. Performing arts center, all the things that a major city would want to have from a cultural offerings perspective. We've invested in our parks. We realize that public spaces are unique places for people to enjoy their life when they're not working, and people actually don't work or want to work unconventionally. So we focused a lot on creating $100 million linear park called the Underline, which will rival the Highline in New York, the Atlanta Beltway, and the Millennium Park in Chicago. And then we focused on quality of life things like homelessness. We have in Miami 555 homeless. When you compare that to New York, which has 60,000, or San Francisco or Los Angeles that has 30, 40, 50,000 homeless. We have reached functional zero in veteran homelessness. There are no veterans in Miami that are homeless, and we want to get to functional zero in overall homelessness. And if I'm blessed to be reelected and be made president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors in January, as I'm slated to be, I want to export our homelessness solution and scale it nationally, so we can hopefully one day end urban homelessness in America, which is something that we should all strive to do. All cities are defined, and we're all defined by what we do for the least of our brothers and sisters in our community. And so for me, I take that as a real challenge that can be solved and something that can be scaled and supported.
So can we talk quickly though, just real quickly? Because
yeah, go ahead, please.
What you're talking about is just amazing. But I want to talk about this whole, how can I help? This whole tweet that started back in December, okay? That got my attention, that got the world's attention, and that is tied to all the amazing movement that has occurred in the tech and innovation center, in the crypto world, in the fintech. I mean, we can just go down the line. Can you just talk about what you did and how you harnessed that?
Right. So the how can I help tweet was actually, it wasn't like I got up one day and said, okay, guys, I'm going to send out a tweet that's going to change the world. Right. I just happened to be home and somebody tweeted out, Delian Asperoff, who's now, who brought, by the way, the Founders Fund to Miami. And he put out a tweet saying, hey guys, what if we move Silicon Valley to Miami? And frankly, we had been trying to do that for 10 years, but we had been doing that. We were a startup that had never gotten any VC money, who had never gotten any real investment, right? And it's hard for cities to just invent a tech ecosystem. It doesn't just happen. I mean, what happened to us is we got lightning in a bottle with that tweet, and we caught what I call a tsunami of macro factor wave, right? Which is, we had, obviously people pushing people out of New York with Amazon. You had elected officials in San Francisco telling Elon Musk to go F himself. You had elected officials putting a resolution that condemning the hospital for naming it after Mark Zuckerberg when he put $75 million into the hospital. I mean, things that are just absurd, things that drive out innovation, that drive out, and having been someone who came from a communist country, right, in Cuba, my family, we just realized that doesn't work. That's not, that government is never going to be the answer. Government can be a facilitator. Government can be, you can have good leaders in government, but it's not the answer to all the problems. So for us, obviously having the How Can I Help tweet go out. I mean, if you would have told me on December 3rd, Mayor, tomorrow you're going to wake up and at some point in the day, you're going to put out this tweet that 2.7 million people are going to see. And then you're going to tweet 800 more times in the month of December, and 27 million people are going to see those tweets. And you're going to meet Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Keith Rabois, and they're going to bring the Founders Fund to Miami, and Blackstone Tech is going to go there, and Microsoft is going to go there, and and all these things are going to happen. Citadel and Starwood, and I would have told you, you're crazy. You cannot come up with a fiction that could ever convince me that I'm going to meet the Winklevoss twins that created Facebook and Gemini and Brian Armstrong that just did Coinbase, the IPO, and Fred Hashem. There's no way that I'm going to meet all these people, have a 30-minute call with Elon Musk. That's not going to happen. I would have never believed anybody. So, a lot of it is intentional, right? In the sense that you have to intentionally embrace these opportunities. And some of it is frankly providential from my perspective, right? Because it's just too amazing to see these macro factors conspire. But I think what every city can do, what Pittsburgh can do, what every city can do is, first of all, they can do those three things that I talked about. They can reduce taxes, they can make their city safe, and they can focus on quality of life. Those three things they can do. Yeah, but they can also go out there and tell their story. And I think what I learned in this process with my Cafecito Tech Talks, I hope you've seen some of them, is that cities need to tell their story. I don't know what Pittsburgh's story is, right? But there's something unique about Pittsburgh. Just the fact that we connected, and the fact that you were interested enough in hearing my perspective. I'm a mayor from a different city, way, way far away. That means that there's something special going on in Pittsburgh. You have to tell that story. I need to know that story. Everybody needs to know that story. And I think we get so caught up in our world and our day-to-day grind that we forget to tell our story, or we got to find a conduit to tell the story. And I found that conduit through the Cafecito Tech Talks. I've had, they've probably been viewed in their totality, millions and millions of views. But I realized the power of telling your story. And that allows you to connect with people like we're connected right now, and continue the process of building on that storytelling adventure.
You hit it. That is just so articulate and so spot on. There are a lot of ties to Pittsburgh. And I'm sad when I hear that people don't know the story, but you have really it's been emblematic, because this whole How Can I Help campaign, you now actually have like a little store online that people can buy t-shirts and you can have conversations, but you also did something else. And the something else was, if someone tweeted you or DM'd you, you responded. And then you also have a package that's put together that is not a canned package in terms of what is life like in Miami. So there are two things there that are remarkable and admirable. So can you talk about that? Like how you pivoted just like an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, first I would tell you not to be discouraged about the fact that you're not telling your story, because no one is telling your story. I think what I learned is no one is telling their story. And I didn't know that because we weren't even telling our story, and we're Miami, So that's the first thing. The second thing is you realize very quickly that this is a viral world, right? Where things that you do can go viral, and that is its own has its own gasoline to it. And pivoting in terms of virality is important, right? And I see one of the questions here is about crypto.
Yes, I was going to ask you that. Can you talk about that too?
That is a pivot that I made, right? And let me tell you why I tweeted 800 times in December. I tweeted 800 times in December because I found something special in Twitter. I found a portal in Twitter. Let me get it in the camera. I found a portal, which is a very small portal in Twitter. Okay. It's I call it the portal of positivity. It's a small portal in Twitter. You got to look really hard for it because it's there, but it's just a hard portal to find. The portal of positivity, because 80 to 90% of what's going on in Twitter is toxic and negative. But I found this portal, and once I found the portal, I didn't stop. I said, I found something special here. I'm the kind of person, and I don't know how you are motivated, but I'm motivated by positivity. I'm motivated by people who wake up in the morning, who want to do good, who think that the world can be a better place, who think that their particular influence on the world can make it better. Nobody who's an entrepreneur or business owner can get up in the morning and think, I'm going to fail today. It just doesn't work. It's not a formula for success. And so once I found that portal, I realized that I needed to drive a truck through it. In that process, I found that there were some highways, right? Like some highways. And one of the highways was crypto. And every time I talked about crypto, I mean, my analytics would go off the charts. And I knew about crypto because I was on the Florida Blockchain Foundation and on the Florida Blockchain Task Force. I was named by the CFO of Florida to help the state deal with the regulatory aspects of crypto. So I already had a good foundation. Plus, I'm a finance major and understand math. So I understood the concept. For some people don't get it. And so I understood the concept and I believe in the concept. And I think that for a city to change its reputation, I don't know if any of you guys have ever been on a cruise ship, but it's like turning a big cruise ship. It's slow and it's cumbersome. We wanted to change our reputation fast and overnight. And so for us to do that, you had to find issues that you could get a huge bang for your buck, a huge return on investment. And crypto for me was one of those issues that would allow Miami to be talked about as the next city. We can't recreate a Facebook or a Google or a Microsoft overnight. But what we can do is give the impression that the next Google and Facebook and Microsoft are going to be born in Miami. They're not going to be born in Seattle. They're not going to be born in Silicon Valley. They're not going to be born in San Francisco or Los Angeles or New York. They're going to be born in Miami. And you do that when you start taking chances and get emerging into emerging economies and emerging technologies that other people are afraid to get involved in. And so it was a risk, you know, as all things that have big rewards are, but it was a calculated risk because I knew a lot of the fundamentals of the technology. I believed in the technology, and I only think that the technology is going to get more and more adopted, and it's going to become more and more integrated into our life.
And so you're calling yourselves the capital of capital, right? You've also embraced that tagline as well. And I think you now have one of your big arenas with a new name.
FTX.
So it's unending. So, you know, here's the thing. We are, you know, definitely envious, but we're not afraid to tell our story here in Pittsburgh. Good. One of the things that really matters to the work that we've done in the tech community is the issue of immigration and immigration reform. And I know that in Miami has been a tremendous leader in this arena, and as a result provides an array of people that not just come from South America, from all over the world.
That's right.
And you've been able to capitalize on that. And right, I mean, you've been able to capitalize that. You have that in your leadership, you have that. You also have a deep belief in private partnerships driving. Can you just talk about that before we sign off? Talk about the government role and, you know, public-private versus private.
I do. Let me just take a step back and talk a little bit about immigration if I can. I do feel that this is one of those issues. Remember when I talked about radical pragmatism at the beginning, and I talked about depoliticizing issues. I think immigration is an issue that is ripe for depolitization. I don't know that the country's ready for that in terms of the political parties of letting it go, but it has to be. This is an issue that affects our viability as an economy and affects our viability as a country. I don't know how it is in Pittsburgh, but I can tell you in Miami, we're struggling to find workers. We need good workers, and immigrants have always been good workers, including ourselves, who came to this country with very little. And my dad was a 9 to 14. My mother came at 6 years old. And, you know, we were able to work our way up in this country. And that's the beauty of this country. It's the American dream. This is a country of immigrants. We are a city of immigrants. We wouldn't be successful without immigrants. I think 70% of the people that live in the city of Miami were not born in the city of Miami. So that's just who we are. The second question, which was, what was the second question?
The second question we talked about immigrants, and we talked about, what was the second question, Brian? I'm so excited to talk to him that I
Partnerships with the private sector.
Yeah,
Yes,
the private
that's right.
sector.
That's right.
Just work with the private sector.
So we feel that a lot of these societal problems, there's a misconception that either they get fixed by the public sector or they get fixed by the private sector. There's not enough cross collaboration. And then there's a fourth component that needs to be introduced and will be introduced, I think, frankly, by my successor generation, which is, and keep an eye out for this, because I want you all to know this. This is an important thing for you all to know. Social impact companies for profit.
Right.
It's going to be a huge industry in the future. It's going to be companies that are going to be born to solve a social problem for profit, right? And they're not necessarily nonprofit organizations, because nonprofit organizations oftentimes rely on philanthropy, rely on government, this is a company that builds a model that is profitable. It needs to be profitable so it can sustain its employees and it can, and continue to perpetuate itself in existence, but will have a social mission. That is, for me, what true, freedom and true capitalism and true, individual liberty, that is the bedrock of it, right? And I think for us in Miami, we want to support those kinds of companies. But yes, we do have public-private partnerships in affordable housing. I saw somebody who had an issue with affordable housing here. We have public-private partnerships. Almost all the affordable housing that's built is built by the private sector, is managed by the private sector, and we become a part of the capital stack. And the beauty of it is we put in $1. Sometimes we get up to $20 in leverage, $25 in leverage, but we get all the benefits in terms of restrictions on income, on costs and how much it can cost and how much. So it's a win-win for the community. And the product that's built by the private sector, managed by the private sector, is significantly better than anything that the public sector could have done. The public sector, public housing in the 60s and 70s and 40s and 50s, it looked like an insane asylum. It looked like a prison. It did. And you may have some of that product in your city, but it looks horrible, and it's even hard to renovate because it's so ugly, So it is. So I think for us, it looks like a little bit prettier of an insane asylum when it gets renovated, but one without bars maybe. But it's these public-private partnerships are important, and it is also important that you have leaders that are willing to collaborate and even call out the private sector at times and demand that the private sector leaders get involved, share their wealth, and do it in a way that creates equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome, but equality of opportunity in this country, because that is what we want to give every child in our city. We all have a moral obligation. Every single one of us has a moral obligation as a community to try to provide a framework where every child in our community has an opportunity to succeed. If we're not doing that, we're falling short. And I think it's a challenge. If it were easy to do, everybody would be doing it, right? It would be easy. The reason why we're talking about it and struggling with it is because we have to find the mechanisms, the vehicles to do it. So that's going to be my lifelong passion. I love being with you all, and I'm so honored to be here. I can feel your energy through the computer.
I hope you do. I'm wearing my 412 t-shirt. I wanted to make sure that you knew that. That's our area code. And I wanted to make.
If you send me one, I'll wear it and I'll put it on my
social media. Consider it done. We will send you one.
It's got to be dry fit. I only wear dry fit.
Okay. So here's the thing. Here's what we're going to do. And if you're okay with this, we're coming to visit you. We're going to bring some companies, some people. We're going to come. I've spent a lot of my life in South Florida. I love it there. Not necessarily in the summer, but I love it there. And that's where all New Yorkers go. And I'm a native New Yorker. So I have a lot of love and a lot of family down there. And I've been blown away.
I used to say that Miami was the sixth borough.
It was the sixth borough. That's what we used to do.
And now New York is a borough of Miami. Things have kind of changed a little bit
Really
since then.
true. We used to pack up big luggages and go there for 3 weeks at a time and lived on Collins Avenue. So listen, what you hear from me and from the people on this call is true passion. We think there's a lot to learn. We're going to come down and visit and do whatever, a mission, a quasi vacation. Hopefully it's a time of year where there's amazing things going on, but I hope you can count on that.
It's always amazing. It's always amazing. And the things are not mutually exclusive. You can have fun and work hard at the same time. And we'd love to have you. It'd be my honor to host you here.
Great. Well, I can't thank you enough. I know there are a bunch of questions out there, but we've taken more time than we thought we would, but you are such a gentleman. Thank you for your civility. Thank you for your leadership and reminding us about storytelling. There's not too many stories that we can tell. There never are. So thank you, Mayor. Stay safe. And while we don't have palm trees, you can see our background here. It's a beautiful city.
Beautiful. You have a beautiful city. And say hi to your mayor for me.
And we certainly will. Thank you so much. And
Bye-bye.
Jonathan, pass the baton to you just to tell us what's on for tomorrow.
Tomorrow is going to be hard to follow up this conversation, that's for sure. We have Denise DeSimon, who everyone knows from Sea Level, but she also runs Steel City Con, which is pretty rad. That's happening on June 11th. So we want to find out how this iconic Pittsburgh event is going to be held safe and still have a ton of fun, geeking out with folks like William Shatner, for crying out loud. Star Trek, here we come.
Thanks, everyone. Get vaccinated if you haven't. Take care.